Welcome back, everybody. I'm just going to come out and say it like it is. We all have been had. That's why we are in the mess that we're in. Basic and plain, and everybody can understand that. We do have a surplus. Believe it or not, we always have a surplus. 330 million Americans paying taxes every year. Surplus up the wazoo. And you know how much of a surplus we have? I'll explain to you. Do you know that every document that you require, an ID, for example, that should be given to you? Now you might say, oh, they're giving us a free driver's license. No, it's paid for by taxes. And I'm sorry, the taxes that people pay, it's not for just the roads and the bridges, Social Security, Medicaid, and education. It's not. It's not. It's for this stuff as well. You should get your driver's license. You should get your registration, your title of your vehicle, and the tags, the license plates, should be given to you. You don't have to pay a cent because you already paid for it. That's what the taxes is. Part of that was for that as well. So you can see where the corruption lies. The registration. Why is it that you still have the same car and you're still at the same address, but you have to renew it every year or 2 years? Why is that? If you're still at the same address in the same vehicle, your registration is for life. Unless you move, you get a different address, or you change the vehicle. And all that does is updating the information. And you don't have to pay a cent for that. Now, when you go into driving school, a private driving school, to learn how to drive, it's a private school. Obviously, you pay for that. But when you get the certificate and you go and get approved to get a driver's license, you don't have to pay for your driver's license or your registration or for the plates. You already paid. That's what you're paying the taxes for that stuff. And it's not for roads and bridges only. I'm sorry. Medicaid, Social Security, and whatnot. And all that stuff is broken as well. The Medicaids and the Social Securities and the roads and all that is broken. The Medicaid, for an example, when it gets given to people, what are your choices nowadays? It's either you don't have insurance or have Medicaid. It's pretty much almost the same thing. Because they screw that up. Every private insurance will pay the top-rated doctors where people have private insurance, like, let's say, Pilgrim Health or Blue Cross and Blue Shield. If that procedure is $10,000, the private insurance pays exactly $10,000. And all the private insurance pays that. But when it's Medicaid, oh, we don't feel that it's $10,000. We feel like it's worth $3,000, so we're only going to pay you $3,000. So now, the procedure, there's $7,000 in the hole. There's $7,000 in the hole. But since they are in control of the documents, because it's a system, they'll put it down as they actually did give $10,000, but in reality they only gave $3,000 because that's what they believed in. But they don't put that in the document. They put that it cost them $10,000, but they only gave $3,000. And it rises the cost of keeping up Medicaid. The same thing with Social Security. Same bullshit. The same thing with the roads and the bridges. Because everybody's pocketing from this. Nobody's doing anything for free, guys. Nobody's doing anything for free. They're making money out of your own money. They're making money out of that. If a road is going to cost $1 million, how much do they end up paying? Oh, they'll say, oh, it costs $5 million, but it only costs $1 million, and then they'll split the difference between the people who are in office, the governors and the mayors. You think with the salary that they make as a politician, you think they get to live in this big mansion and have Maseratis? where the check every year that they get from the government is what? $80,000, $70,000? President's pay is $100,000 a year. Then you see these sons of bitches are running around with Maseratis and yachts and mansions and all that. Where all that money came from? It came from you guys. Corruption at its highest heaven. There you go. And depending on what administration is in charge, you'll have corporations running amok, giving them the green light to do whatever they want. Which leads us to the gig economy. They get to do whatever they want and play games and smoke screens like Biden did, like, oh, we're going to put the government in there and classify the independent contractors as employees. Remember that? The whole thing disappeared. Nobody talked about it afterwards to show that they're trying to do something in the system, or they're showing that they're not in cahoots with the gig economy, but they are. And just played mind games with the people out there. They didn't do nothing about it. Nothing happened. It stayed the way it is and got even worse. There you go. We all have been had. Period. And that I've been saying for years. Know what side you're on. Know which sides are you on. Pick a side. And we know definitely one side is for the destruction of the people, and they only care for themselves. That's it. They only care for themselves. Period. They're destroying the country and throwing trillions of dollars all over the world. $20 million to have a Sesame Street in Iraq. Who cares? We shouldn't have to pay for our driver's license here, or our registration, or a license, or a permit to sell hot dogs in the street. Shouldn't have to pay for all that. If you're going to send all that money overseas for bullshit. Now, the countries overseas, they have their own governments. They have their own citizens that pay taxes. Let them create a Sesame Street in Iraq with their own taxes. Period. Has nothing to do with us. It's not for any emergency. That's not an emergency. Period. Or sending money, millions of dollars overseas, or teaching them about LGBT rights. That's not an emergency. That country has money there. They have their own taxes, their own government. Let them create that. Let them pay for it. What are they going to pay for? If every country out there has a government and they have citizens that pay taxes where they can create these programs, where are we paying for it? Like they don't have that already in other countries where they have governments and collect taxes. Every country out there has a government and citizens that collect taxes. Let them build whatever they want. What does that have to do with us? But it was used as an excuse that they're doing good causes, creating what they call non-government organizations so they can funnel money and print a lot of money to create a disaster, to devaluate the dollar so bad. This way we get to be in a digital currency, and now you have to show everything. And they got you by the balls. That was the whole agenda. They don't care about climate change. They could care less about the climate. They look at their pockets. That's it. They could care less about the climate. They could care less about electrical cars. They could care less about Iraq having a Sesame Street. They were doing all that for their own agendas. Get that through your thick skulls. Supposedly they're supposed to help the middle class and the poor. The ones that got hit the most out of this whole thing was the middle class and the poor. They got hit the most. And you got DoorDash and Walmart and these other big companies that their markets are blooming. They're making more money, billion dollar more money than ever. Well, you're struggling out there with $2 payouts and $3 and $4 payouts every day. There you go. We all have been had. All of us have been had, period. Now you know. And if you still believe that's not the case, you've been living under a rock, period. These sons of bitches, they made millions out of you. Millions. They are retiring early. Early retirement. And another 4 years of this, it would have been over. You would have to pay $10 a gallon for gas. Another 4 years of this. $20 for a carton of eggs. And then it would have been a civil war. There you go. They could care less. They could care less. They got their money. They're retiring early. That's all they care about. Let the whole world burn. And everything was smoke and mirrors. Period. End of the story and end of the video. Let me know in the comments. I'll catch you guys later. Now you know.